Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I'm here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
It's Civil War. War! It's a period. It's a period of civil war. Yeah, we're gonna talk about the Star Wars Civil War.
The thing is that the Acolyte didn't cause it. It was caused long ago by The Last Jedi. Yeah, you're full of crap.
Well, before that, the prequels. I mean, it's just like, but it's reached a new level of idiocy and vitriol.
I don't know if it has. I think it's the same level that's just been before. It's just that one side's just being more of a, more douchey than normal. And by that, I don't mean the side that you're blaming.
Yeah, and it stinks. Even though they're douching more often, it does. We're going to talk about this. It's just very, very weird. This feels very... I don't even know where to go. There are multiple things going on here from the outside. So I want to be very clear. I don't know Star Wars theory. I don't know Paul Tassi.
Nope.
We're going to talk about this beef from an outsider's perspective on what we're trying to gather is going on here. But apparently, Paul Tassi's been writing what Star Wars theory believes to be hit pieces.
Well, he kind of has been writing hit pieces against the fandom. We've covered it ourselves.
Yeah.
Basically, Paul likes the Acolyte, and he's pissed that people don't like it. That's what it boils down to.
Well, what he's actually pissed about, you're reading between the lines here, and you look at the tweets, is he's mad that Star Wars theory basically makes a bunch of money off of responding to his articles. And don't
write the articles.
Just quit your job. But yeah,
that's what he wants Star Wars theory to do.
So yeah, that's exactly what they want. So yeah, and look, I think there's a much bigger issue here than Star Wars. I think this is like kind of the unified theory of everything
that we've been talking about for a long time.
Why journalists hate YouTubers so much, right? And
we only respond to people making idiotic, posts.
Yeah, but they blame in this weird way. I believe they blame YouTubers for eating their lunch, and people pivoted
because people wouldn't know about their articles if YouTubers didn't cover it.
That's actually
probably
true.
Getting more traction and more views than they normally would have.
I agree with that. I think that actually, in a weird way, YouTubers covering sites like Kotaku and the Mary Sue probably extended their lives by a couple of years. Mm-hmm. They would have died out naturally had we not been covering them.
People weren't watching the Acolyte, so they were not looking for articles about it on the internet. So because YouTubers cover it, your argument that YouTubers somehow tanked the Acolyte, wouldn't that mean that your articles would get more traction and more viewership?
Yeah.
It doesn't, because the YouTubers didn't tank the Acolyte. The general public did, but
there was a whole period. There was a whole period after The Last Jedi came out that became kind of a cottage industry on the journos end, that they would write hit pieces on The Last Jedi and the Star Wars fandom, and then YouTubers would react to it, and then people would go out to read the original article, and it basically kept them afloat for a while, right? They needed that outrage, and then when it died down, they started again. Yeah.
Well, then they tried it again, but it didn't go very far this time because literally no one cared about the Acolyte.
They tried it with Gamergate. They just kept trying and trying and trying to get a Gamergate 2 going because they know they needed that drama.
Didn't work.
And in the case of Paul Tassi, I think it's like he's kind of looking at the landscape here. All of his peers are getting laid off. All these blogs are getting shut down or downsized or whatever. I don't think Forbes necessarily is in any danger, but he's not relevant.
Well, here's the thing. It's like you used to say about Paul being pretty normal and balanced.
I used to like Paul Tassi.
He
I used to cite him.
gone off the deep end, especially when it comes to Star Wars.
I don't know what's going on here. I don't know if he's done a heel turn to try to save his internet presence, or he just snapped, or he's always been this way and he was just pretending to be balanced. I have no idea. But whatever's going on, it's not really a good look to go after YouTubers and large groups of Star Wars fans like this. And he actually does sound, he's echoing a lot of the points of these people that were trying to tie anybody that was negative about Star Wars to the actual alt-right, to Milo Yiannopoulos and all these people from 2016. It's just so damn weird. I mean, it's so weird. Or he's trying real hard because he knows he's not going to be, because Forbes is actually overall a more conservative publication. And it could be that he knows he's gonna have to jump to another gig, and he doesn't want to burn his bridges, so he's gonna nuke the toxic chuds on the way out.
Well, let's talk about it. But before we get into any further,
before we get into any further, please subscribe. For more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys, you have woohoo if you do.
Woohoo! So tell me what's going on with Star Wars theory and all this.
Okay, so as I understand it, and I again, this is I brought this up on Twitter earlier today that, you know, people were like, don't you know about this YouTuber thing or that YouTuber thing? No, we really don't. We kind of stay in our lane. Unless it's like major news, we don't really cover it. I'm vaguely aware because I see people's tweets or I see videos pop up my feed of YouTuber drama. But to go back to the situation with Star Wars Theory, he has a huge target on his back now because the Star Wars fandom, the Disney Star Wars fandom, feel like he's done a heel turn recently because he's been critical of a lot of the Disney Star Wars. So Geeky pointed out in Paul Tassi's bio that he's writing his own books and he's doing YouTube now. So it could be that he's actually thinking this is a way to go to stir up some drama to get people to go to his, like, oh, all the antis will
like
support
everybody
me.
else.
Yeah, pretty much like everybody else. Like, we'd grow so much faster. If we picked fights with more people, we'd be at like 2 million subs by now. Okay, so yeah, so there's that to consider in all this too. I think he's trying to pivot to YouTube because he knows Forbes is not going to last long term, right?
But right now it seems like it's a giant pissing match.
It's a pissing match. So Star Wars Theory is, as far as I know, the largest single Star Wars fan channel. He actually gets more views, and I think he might even have more subs than the official Star Wars channel.
Yeah, and that's why people were salty.
Yes.
And they started making the Rewrite Ripley came back and started all of this shit with the whole Acolyte thing.
Yeah, because they view this as, oh my God, because Star Wars Theory is teaming up with Nerdrotic and Geeks and Gamers and those guys, that he's gone to the dark side and he's taken down Lucasfilm single-handedly. It's like Lucasfilm took themselves down. Right.
And the thing is, it's like, he doesn't have to like everything you like.
No.
And he had receipts about, backbiting bullshit. And, I've seen it myself. We did webcomics for years. We've done comics for years and on stuff. We have our own backbiting bullshit stories that are very similar to Star Wars Theory's type of stories.
Well, it's interesting because the one thing I did watch from, and I don't know Star Wars Theory, but I did watch his video where he was calling out Star Wars Explained because they were kind of leading the charge.
But they were sharing Rewriting Ripley.
Right,
Rewriting Ripley,
But he said behind the scenes, he's like, I've got receipts. These people have been trying to tank me for years because I won't collaborate with them or I won't whatever. And it's like that kind of shit happens often in the YouTube space, in the webcomics, any online creative scene. That happens. Why do we stick to ourselves mostly? It doesn't mean that we hate anybody. It doesn't mean, it's just we're older. We've seen this happen many times.
Plus, we don't want people to be, wrongfully accused of siding with us. If they're on our show, we have an opinion that's different than theirs. And then people are like, well, you were on their show, so you must think that you must think like them, so you're a blankety blank. And that doesn't mean that you do. We don't want to be responsible for people being accused of thinking like us or us being accused of thinking like somebody else. It's not fair. And I think that he's run into that before as well. But anyway, back to the point of this. So Star Wars Theory is fighting with Paul Tassi. It's a bunch of farts on Twitter.
It is, yeah.
And so now Paul Tassi's accusing Star Wars Theory of getting him death threats or something?
Yeah, so apparently, now if I'm following this correctly, Paul Tassi's been writing multiple hit pieces on...
Yes, he has.
Yes, he has been.
And the toxic fandom, blah, blah, blah. You didn't like the show I like.
He's retweeting, rewriting Ripley.
Rewriting Ripley.
And
then his credibility is shot.
Yeah, the YouTuber side of things has escalated thanks to Star Wars Theory, the largest Star Wars fan channel on the internet, and who's been the frequent centerpiece of what is viewed as the toxic part of the fandom. It's so weird. He
bashed the Acolyte. This is what Paul Tassi's pissed about. If Star Wars Theory liked the Acolyte, we wouldn't be having this article, would we?
No.
He's toxic because... Why is he toxic? Because he didn't like the Acolyte? Seriously? I guess the general public's toxic, Paul. Because the general public didn't fucking like the Acolyte or care about it. I don't know what to tell you. Get over it.
He said Theory went off on social media saying that things had crossed the line by trying to get these channels demonetized. That's entirely true.
It did.
Which goes after people's livelihoods, in quotes, as you write for Forbes and have a YouTube channel.
And then you're trying to cause trouble to go after his livelihood, and you make these articles for your livelihood. And he said he called out the other channel, Star Wars Explained. They were part of the Rewriting Ripley thing. They were sharing the Rewriting Ripley thing, but he had receipts of years of experience with them proving a pattern of behavior.
That they were conniving and that they were basically very angry that he got further than they did, even though they started at the same time.
If he's, he has private communications, well, it's not really cool to do that. I mean, it's usually if private communications, it's usually supposed to stay private. He didn't sign an NDA saying he couldn't release this information. If they were making it a personal attack on him, causing him issues, what was he supposed to do? Like, keep taking it, not prove that they had a personal vendetta because, it makes people like Paul upset?
Well, I think I probably would have dealt with it differently, but in this case, I wouldn't have dealt with it that way, but this isn't our first rodeo, and I'm not saying it is or isn't with him, but I come from a corporate background, and I'd be like, yeah, you got to watch leaking that kind of shit because it can blow up in your face, right?
Right, but the flip side is you get tired. It's bullshit. I love this. Here comes Paul. My grand take. Now remember, Paul has written hit piece after hit piece about being mad. People didn't like the Acolyte. He has been so ass mad about the Acolyte. The hate for the Acolyte is like unlike anything I've seen in Star Wars history. No, Paul, The Last Jedi was way worse than the Acolyte because a couple reasons. One, the Acolyte, again, is canceled because most people didn't care or watch it. The Last Jedi was a much bigger deal because it had a lot of people watch it. It single-handedly went from Star Wars coming back to tanking the entire franchise, okay? Acolyte didn't have that much power because the Acolyte just got itself tanked. That's the difference. You're just salty because you wanted more Acolyte. That's the whole thing. But there's no way in hell the Acolyte situation is worse than The Last Jedi. And Rewriting Ripley tried this shit before over The Last Jedi.
Yeah, when it gets to a place where stands, and that's what this is about stands try to find an angle to get YouTube to take monetization away from a channel that has been in good standing for years and several other channels just because they're saying things or being critical of a series. Like that is too far. Like you can vehemently disagree with somebody, say, hey, I think your takes are shit. I think your behavior's shit. I think your channel's shit. But that doesn't mean that you have a leg to stand on to call for them to be demonetized.
And I would argue that the fans of the Acolyte and people like Paul, that if you're going to argue that the toxic fans, basically toxic translates, I don't like your show. I would argue that if you're going to argue it's worse than The Last Jedi, that's because you're making it that way. People like you, Paul, because you guys are the ones getting ass mad that people don't like your show. So you are acting in the exact same way you're accusing everybody else of doing, just that you're doing it on your YouTube channel and you're doing it on use articles on Forbes, trying to use megaphones like Lisa Forbes that you didn't build or earn, and then you're trying to cause trouble for everybody else. But it's okay when you do it, Paul. See, that's the thing. Pot or kettle there. It's the exact same fucking thing you're mad about.
Yeah.
It's the exact same thing, Paul.
So now this is blowing up. So he's basically, if I'm following this correctly, there's somebody, see here, this person has broke down. Dan Cotter, breaking 4 minutes after Forbes corporate journal Paul Tassi sent what some believe to be a threat towards real Star Wars theory. One of Tassi's followers sends a very threatening message to Star Wars theory. So his whole thing was, he was at the police station filling out a report because somebody sent him a death threat via his cell phone, a text message, which you should never ever do.
No, don't do that.
But that's not theory. I mean, he's got 3.3 million subs. Now, here's the thing about YouTube or about just having an internet presence in general is like, one, you don't know who's watching or why they're watching or what their mental state is. And two, you don't know what their intentions are. A lot of times, one thing that we've learned early on is that people that are pretending to be on one side are actually on the other side, trying to make the other side look bad.
Well, I was going to say that's true. It does happen. But beyond that, here's the thing, too. It's just that you cannot control what your viewers do. Like, if we put a video up and someone takes the wrong thing from it or goes and does something, it's not our fault they do it. Just like Star Wars Theory gets threats from people that read Paul's articles, or people like Paul Tassi. And he's not allowed to blame. It's not Paul's fault, but somehow it's his fault if someone who watches him threatens Paul Tassi. That's absolute bullshit. Again, the double standards. If you didn't have a double standard, you'd have no standards at all. Now, you're the exact same coin, different side, dude.
Now, that being said, I'm going to go on record as saying do not contact.
Yes, exactly.
Do not contact or engage with Paul Tassi or Star Wars Theory.
And if you do, it's not our fault.
It's not our fault. I'm telling you not to do it. Do not do that.
You shouldn't have to tell people not to.
You shouldn't have to.
No.
We're supposed to be dealing with adults, but like I keep having to reiterate.
It's not your fault if people do it.
Yeah, I keep having to reiterate in videos, like, do not dox these people, do not harass these people on our behalf. Even with the He-Man thing, like, we had people going out there and stirring up massive amounts of shit in our name, which we never asked them to do. People going into, like, tagging Kevin Smith in, asking him, telling him he needed to apologize to us. I'm like, no, he doesn't.
But I mean,
he
we
doesn't
appreciate
have
the
to.
thought, but we didn't ask you to
Appreciate
do
the
it.
thought, but
and the thing is, too, he's
they
not
think we're
gone as
sending
Kevin
them.
Smith.
No,
but
but
here's the thing.
we're not
Meanwhile,
sending them out to do it.
On the flip side, people were salty that we didn't like the He-Man show, and as a result, there was our kids' pictures being posted.
Yes.
There were threats telling us that we should kill ourselves, our kids should kill themselves. They wish we would die. They put our well, not our home now, but they put our old home address up, trying to show people where we lived. They put a rape poll about me because they were mad I didn't like their fucking He-Man show. I wish I was kidding, and I'm not.
Yeah,
This is shit we deal with. Because people didn't like what we had to say.
Oh, we've dealt with. I mean, as far as like going to like we've dealt with that whole thing. We had people sending us weird shit, and we had there's a whole thing. But I mean, that goes.
It goes with the territory.
It goes with the territory.
Star Wars Theory he's talking about all the times he's gotten threats and stuff.
And you don't usually bring it up because it just gives other idiots ideas, but also they know they get to you, even if they're not really getting to you. Sometimes it's just a case of like, yeah, I probably
they think they're because you're mentioning.
Yeah, I should probably be like, oh, okay, I should probably swing by the police station and print this stuff out just in case.
Which we've done.
And they're aware that this kind of weird shit happens, but
yeah, and people flashing gun licenses doesn't help. But yeah, they get them on a list at the police station. But beyond that, we're just like saying, you cannot control what people do who watch you or don't like you. You cannot control it. If people go and make threats, which again, I can't believe we tell people not to do it because it's common sense.
Yeah.
They will. It's the same thing, different side. It happens both sides. Like he's getting threats because of Tassi's articles. Tassi's getting supposedly threats because of Star Wars Theory's articles. But again, it's not them. It's the people that are making the threats. You can't blame them when the people are making the threats. It's their fault. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So anyway, let's go through Theory's thread here, and this is just there are a lot of issues to unpack. It's not just mean YouTubers who don't like the Acolyte versus these virtuous journalists who are just trying to expose them for the grifters they are. This guy actually wants to be a YouTuber too.
They're the ones making it into this. The Acolyte's this big deal. The Acolyte was such a small deal. It was so small that it didn't get enough viewership to warrant a second season. Yet they keep making it out like it's this gigantic, pivot spot for everyone. It's literally the Civil War, even though it's already been going on for years because of The Last Jedi. And they're just mad because they didn't like their show. The blogs are running out of steam. We've talked about this too. Like eventually, I swear to God, guys, we're going to get to his tweets. Just remember where these blogs are. Again, we've covered this extensively. They're all dying. People are getting laid off. Blogs are getting shut down. They're getting sold. So this is coming from the reason they're kicking the hornet's nest again is coming from a place of fear because they know if they don't bring the views come hell or high water, they're going to get gone. So this is Star Wars Theory's thread. Bro wants his money. He's talking to Tassi. I don't have to link to garbage writers. Tassi's mad because he would cover his articles, but he wouldn't link to the articles. I'm like, I can tell you for a fact people don't click on those links anyway. It doesn't matter. Do you link to my videos when you spread lies? The last video was the intro to you. The next one is about your article on Forbes agreeing with the deplatforming of me and others and spraying full-on lies. Yeah, that's a bridge too far. You're a trash journalist and you will be exposed. You couldn't just leave me alone. You had to write a full-on article in Forbes about me being the most toxic YouTuber. Yeah, he did say it. He did say it.
You even lie and I catch you on it. All will see journalists like you are the problem today. Now I will respond. This is just the start of me responding to all of you for the abuse you've thrown at me for 8 long years of silence. Funny thing is, I don't have to lie like you. I just have to hold up the mirror to your face so the world can see the truth. You're all cooked. I have a long list and receipts with everyone. Sleep well. This guy says, so in a nutshell, he insults you, wants to bury your opinions in speech and end your platform. Then he gets upset when you're giving him credit. Is that about right?
You're not giving him credit.
You're not giving him credit.
Yes.
Yeah, but this is very normal. And a lot of times YouTubers, they actually turn a blind eye to it. We've done it too. We've had people write shit articles about us, and we might make fun of it in a video or something, but like, we're getting into some hardcore defamatory area here, right? When you're calling people, you're calling people literally the reason that these shows are getting canceled, literally the reason that people are being harassed, even though they never called for harassment, trying to tie them to actual white supremacists just because they don't like a damn science fiction show. That's a defamation suit waiting to happen. And somebody's going to pull the trigger on one of these suits one of these days, and they're going to win. And this is, as a journalist, you would think that you'd have some oversight, or there'd be an editor, unless Forbes can't afford editors anymore. They would look at this and be like, yeah, you can't say that because you're opening us up to a lawsuit. Look at what happened with the Kansas City Chiefs kid. It ended Deadspin because they said, oh yeah, the kid's racist. Well, he wasn't racist. And you go around and start calling YouTubers, even though you don't like him, you can think your opinion can be that they're the biggest pieces of shit walking the planet, but if you flat out say they are the reason that people are getting death threats, and they are literally the reason that people are being harassed, and they're putting people's, and I've seen articles like Mary Sue, whatever, they're like, they're the bigots are putting people's lives in danger. They're endangering the lives of these stars and these shows. I'm like, your life is in danger as soon as you become a public personality. It doesn't matter. You can be the nicest person in the world. Keanu Reeves had some crazy ass woman show up at his house.
Well, and here's the thing too. It's like, you don't know that they're making threats because of the person. In this case, he's saying it was because Star Wars Theory was named specifically according to him, according to Tassi. But a lot of these sites that are just like loosely saying this, they can't actually draw a straight line to prove that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're just saying it. And, you're allowed to have your opinion, and that's okay. But you say, in my opinion. Not stating it as fact.
And you mark it as an op-ed piece, and that's how you do it. But these journalists now, they basically use these platforms as their personal blogs. And if you mark it as a blog, or you say, hey, we're a blog, or we're opinionated, or whatever, that's one thing. But this is freaking Forbes. Right? But all these journos do this now. And I really think at the end of the day, this is about him being salty. He wants to be a YouTuber. He wants to build his own platform up. He knows the end is near for him. And I think he's trying to keep his options open. He's like, well, if I stick it to the chuds, then my next job, which might be more left leaning, I can safely say, look at me. I stood up for the Star Wars fans. Buy my book.
Well, I stand up for Star Wars fans all the time. It's just that they're not the ones he likes.
Then
all his haters are showing up.
Yeah, this whole thing is just like freaking, like, look, it's
Luke would be disappointed in you. Again, how is it his fault that how is it his fault that somebody sent you a thing he didn't tell him to? How's that his fault? Just like if someone sent Star Wars Theory a death threat, a message because they read Paul Tassi's article, I would argue in that situation too, that's not Paul Tassi's fault.
No, it's not Paul Tassi's fault.
It's not his fault. You can't control what people who read you or listen to you do. You can only control what you do.
But this is kind of where it's escalated to, because before it was mostly like these garbage tier sites like, the Mary Sue fighting with, sub 100,000 YouTubers or sub, million YouTube, whatever. And now it's like, okay, now we've got freaking Forbes going after the biggest Star Wars fan channel out there.
What else? People are down here like, well, he's a narc. Let me get this straight. So this place goes after him because he doesn't have the same opinion of them about one show, right? And they go after him. And his response is, when they're trying to, they're perpetuating this narrative that it isn't true to try to get, to try to cause issues, try to get them deplatformed. And then he proves that they've been jealous and they've been trying to pull shit before. They've been like, they have personal beef because they're mad he's farther ahead than them. And that's narking? What the literal hell? Like, I don't understand this. Like, this is what I get pissed about. I get pissed about this. You're, as a professional, someone's doing shitty things. They're cheating numbers. They're doing whatever. They're shitty people and they lie and all this other stuff. And you've seen it. You have proof of it, etc.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And then you're not supposed to say anything. They're allowed to go and talk shit about you. Yep. And they're allowed to go and promote stuff that's against you.
You have to be the bigger person.
You're supposed to say nothing.
Yeah. Yep.
Or you're the narky asshole for proving approving about the shit they've been doing behind the scenes. That is a load of crap, and I'm tired of this. I am very tired of it. If someone has been an asshole behind the scenes and you're being attacked by those people, you should have every right. As long as it wasn't like doxing information in there, you should have every right to be able to share. Well, here's what they've been doing. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you should, but it's like, again, you would think that there would be some like, there is no decorum anymore.
Wait, this is his
like,
proof?
Yeah. He got a text message.
Someone used some derogatory terms.
Yes.
And then I'm coming for you, but that could just mean online or whatever. That's the proof.
Maybe he's jerking off to him because he's saying he's an F word.
That's the proof.
That's the proof. So he went to the police with that. We've gotten worse than that. But again, it's you cannot prove that this is somebody that's doing it to, and even if they are doing it to defend the honor of Star Wars theory or whatever, however they're justifying it mentally. He didn't sign off on it, right? And him, like, what's he supposed to do? Be like, oh my God, one person said mean things to you. I'm going to take my channel down immediately. How
do we know that somebody who was like trying to get Star Wars theory in trouble just didn't do this?
That's true. I mean, we've actually had stuff like that happen too. Yeah. I mean, like I said, we don't talk about it much, but we've had people that were actually on the other side pretend to be like they're on quote unquote our side to try to cause problems for, you know what I'm saying? I've heard theories before that some of the swattings and stuff like that have actually been for the one side trying to make the other side look really bad, and it's really like people.
Oh, all of this
is nuts.
No, all of this over a shitty Star Wars show even the critics didn't think was that great, and it no one watched it. So the majority of people didn't even watch the show. Because they didn't care. They aren't listening to Star Wars theory. They aren't listening to Paul Tassi. They just tuned out completely and didn't watch it. They weren't engaged in any way, shape, or form. And this is what they're going to go into over.
Yeah, I mean, he said Tassi talks like 300,000 views just happens. Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Theory had a massive platform that he built up over many years that he worked his ass off to build. And now people are just like, how dare you? It's you can't do this. You can't say this. You can't whatever. It's like you can be a fan of something, not like the direction the company or whatever is going in. That doesn't mean that you're, retroactively you didn't like the stuff that came out before. And he's actually, some people said he's actually been overly positive about some of the stuff that's come out. Because he's a fan of Star Wars ultimately. I mean, he loves the prequels, and a lot of people hated the prequels. And you know what? You're allowed to love or hate the prequels. You don't like the prequels. I like the prequels.
I'm not a big fan, no.
We're still married.
Yeah.
I'm not sending you death threats on your phone.
We just find what we agree on. We come from a time where you're allowed to like what you like, and I'm allowed to like what I like, and if we don't agree, that's fine. We just find common ground and agree on that. It's not a big deal.
No.
Just don't watch it. Don't watch the videos. Don't read the articles. They didn't watch the show. I mean, people just didn't watch the show in general.
Yeah. So
and I'm like, and I don't understand. Star Wars Theory isn't the one that making the comments they're supposed to be mad about. It was other channels, but yet Star Wars Theory is getting all the blame now.
Because he's the biggest. And I think people, I honestly think what is going on is people at Lucasfilm, because he's the biggest, he actually gets more views on his videos than they get on official Star Wars videos. They are incredibly threatened. I think there's going to be, just personal, and I don't want to be one of these guys like, oh, Kathleen Kennedy, I got to do my voice changer. Kathleen Kennedy's getting fired. My insider told me. But I think that there are going to be changes because Disney, it looks like they're going from division to division and cleaning house.
Well, her contract's up too, so there's a good chance she's gone. But, real quick before we wrap this up, he's like, talking about, because every week they were mad about the Acolyte. But the last part, they said it was impossible to talk about any positivity without being sworn by devotees of these channels. Here's the kicker, though. I can tell you for a fact, Paul, for years, you weren't allowed to say anything you didn't like about the Disney sequel trilogy, or you were immediately swamped by a bunch of people who liked it. You couldn't say anything at all. Like if I'd say, oh, I didn't care for this one thing, they were like, you're a misogynist. You're racist and a bigot. But I'm a woman. Well, you're internalized misogynist and everything else. And so don't tell me, that might be the case with this, but it's been going on for years on the other side too. I think people are just over it because, and that's why I've said since we started doing these videos. You are allowed to like what you like. You are allowed to not like what you don't like. No one, but on the flip side, don't tell people they have to like it because you do. Don't tell them they have to not like it because you do. Let people like what they like. Let people not like what they don't like. The problem is when it becomes a bullying campaign perpetuated by the media. And that's when I step in. And Paul has been making hit piece after hit piece after hit piece in general.
Yeah, if anybody turned to the dark side, it was Tassi. I used to cite him all the time because I thought he was actually had his head screwed on straight, but I don't know what the hell this was going on.
It's all
here.
targeted racist harassment. Why? Because people didn't like the show he liked.
Yeah.
That's what it's come down. And it's all of this drama and death threats and put over at the stupid Acolyte show. You know what? Everybody just stop talking about it.
Stop talking.
Just stop talking about it at all.
The general public has.
Because they're trying to get it built another season, and they're trying to leverage any engagement as engagement. So they keep stirring up shit.
Yeah.
Ignore them. Step over them.
Yep.
Kick the dirt on that shit and walk on.
All right. So are we gonna wrap this
Yes.
up? There we go, guys. YouTuber drama. Yeah. Please subscribe. We'll talk later.
Bye.
Join the reef. Go to clownfish-.com. That's clownfish-.com. You will get exclusive access to podcasts and videos and comic strips and more, as well as merch discounts. Check it out. If you were a member, you could get this t-shirt, this dismal t-shirt on our website. You'd get a 10% discount on that. You can also join in the community on clownfish-.com. Thank you so much for the support.